Yeah, it's hard for me to determine whether the Bitcoin market is a real market or not. Or whether it's truly representative of a real market. And we have these so-called whales, and their level of ownership, I think, is a big factor in the price trajectory of Bitcoin. Last I heard, and correct me if I'm wrong, these numbers might have changed a bit, but the last I heard, 2% of owners own 95% of all the value of Bitcoin. 1,000 individuals control 40% of the market. Let me repeat that. 2% of the Bitcoin owners own 95% of the value. That, to me, is reminiscent of a penny stock promotion where you have a group of people coming in early, buying large positions in a tightly held deal, and then getting out there and promoting the daylights out of it with wild claims about what it can do and about creating riches. And I just think that that is a very, very dangerous thing. Tightly held deals are easy to manipulate. That's just a fact. Are we to believe that Bitcoin is the only asset class that is not manipulated? Every other asset class is, and that's why we have regulators. Bitcoin doesn't have regulators. That's why it's potentially very attractive to manipulators. And there are many ways to manipulate a tightly held D. Painting the tape and upticking are common methods, but we'll never know. And it should be a concern to us that the price of Bitcoin has been manipulated. That's number one, okay? As far as the recent buyers, I think it's important to take a closer look. We need to differentiate between Wall Street, hedge funds, and the traditional longer-term institutional buyers, okay? And let me start with Wall Street, which Bitcoin folks are touting as an important step in the validation of Bitcoin. I don't take much comfort that Wall Street jumps into anything. They will jump on anything that is going to make them money. And whatever the flavor of the month is, whether it's mortgage-backed securities, tech stocks, SPACs, emerging markets. And when things blow up, as they sometimes do, they just move on to the next thing. If you look at Jamie Dimon of JP Morgan, he hates Bitcoin, can't stand it, but he certainly allows his firm to find business angles to make money out of it because business is business. Hedge funds, and this is where people get really confused. And I hear names like Gunlatch, Druckenmiller, Paul Tudor Jones as all being Bitcoin buyers and therefore lending credibility to Bitcoin. You have to understand what a hedge fund is designed to do, which is very different than traditional institutions. They're designed to look for momentum and take higher risks for higher returns. If the price starts to underperform, they move on to other things. Right now, Bitcoin is giving them momentum in spades, so they're all over it. But if it were to start underperforming, they're in the business of moving out of that and finding something else. And they're certainly not buying into Michael's buy and hold forever. That's just not the way they operate. As far as the institutions, and I think another good example of that is that it's very similar to how, say, Warren Buffett, who was a gold hater for a long, long time, bought a large position in Barrick Gold, and all the gold guys got all excited about it here, and he's a believer. Sure, they bought it, and then he turned around and sold it when he had made a profit. And I see Bitcoin, with respect to hedge funds, as being the exact same scenario. Traditional institutions, my good friend Larry Fink just came out with, and he manages BlackRock, the largest money manager in the world, $9 trillion under management, came out last week and said he doesn't see any real institutional buying in Bitcoin yet. What worries me are the millions of Robinhood type buyers that are investing and looking to get rich quick. Because when they pile into Bitcoin, and if something were to go wrong, they're the ones that usually are left holding the bag because they're not sophisticated. They don't know how to assess risk. So I just think that you really have to understand who the buyers are to determine what validation is being assigned to Bitcoin.